Good morning. Today I want to speak to anyone who has felt weary, worn, or weighed down by life. I want you to hear this truth. God sees every tear you have shed. He knows every moment of pain, every sleepless night, and every burden you carry. And here's the powerful promise. Renewal is on the way. Sometimes life doesn't make sense. We face heartbreak, disappointment, or seasons that seem endless. But even in the middle of the storm, God is at work. He doesn't promise that the pain will vanish immediately, but he promises that he sees it, and he is faithful to bring beauty from the ashes. Renewal often begins quietly. It starts in the heart with a whisper of hope, a prayer, or a small step forward. God can take what feels broken and make it whole again. Your tears are not wasted. They are watering seeds of growth, preparation, and blessing that are waiting to bloom. So today, lift your eyes. God is writing a new chapter for you. The pain you've endured is not the end of your story. Healing is coming, doors are opening, and joy is returning. Trust him, hold on, and remember, God sees you, God cares, and God is working behind the scenes to bring renewal. Have you ever felt completely alone in your pain? Have you ever cried in the dark and thought that no one, not even God, could see the depth of your hurt? I want you to understand something tonight. God sees every tear, every single one. Every tear that has ever fallen from your eyes, every tear you thought was hidden, every tear you tried to hide from the world, none of them are unnoticed. Scripture tells us that God is close to the brokenhearted, that he binds up our wounds, and that he counts every sparrow that falls. If he counts sparrows, how much more does he notice the tears of his children? Think about that for a moment. Often in life, we go through trials that make us feel invisible. We cry in silence when no one is watching. We carry burdens that we feel no one else understands. Perhaps it's the pain of rejection, the grief of losing someone you love, or the frustration of dreams that haven't yet come to pass. There are seasons when life feels heavy, and you might wonder if anyone really sees your struggle. The truth is, God does. He is watching. He is aware. Nothing escapes his attention, not even the smallest drop of sadness that slides down your cheek when you think no one is looking. God's awareness is not passive. He doesn't merely observe your pain from a distance. He cares. He enters into your suffering. Psalm 34:18 reminds us that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. That means your tears are not meaningless. They are seen, acknowledged, and held by a loving God. He knows the weight you carry, the nights you have spent crying yourself to sleep, and the quiet prayers whispered in desperation. You are not invisible to him, and your pain is not ignored. Tears often come from places of deep disappointment or unmet expectations. Perhaps you hoped for something and it didn't happen. Perhaps you've worked tirelessly for a goal, and failure or loss came anyway. In those moments, your heart can feel heavy and your spirit can feel crushed. It is natural to wonder if your suffering matters. But your tears are not overlooked by God. He sees them and he collects them. Psalm 56:8 says, you keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book. Imagine that. God himself has a record of every tear you have shed. They are precious to him. They are not mistakes. They're not failures. They are not a sign of weakness. They are evidence of a heart that feels deeply, a soul that is alive, and a life that matters to the creator of the universe. Sometimes we feel that crying is a sign of weakness, that showing emotion makes us vulnerable or unworthy, but God sees things differently. He honors the authenticity of our emotions. He is not bothered by our tears. He is moved by them. He does not ask us to hide our hurt. He asks us to bring it to him. When you pour out your heart, when your tears flow freely in prayer or in a quiet moment of reflection, God is listening. He is not distant or detached. He is near, holding your sorrows in his hands. Your tears are a form of communication with him. a language that speaks louder than words sometimes can. God's sight of our tears is also a promise that he will act. To see something is not just to observe, it is to care and eventually intervene. He sees the injustice, the heartbreak, the loneliness, and the suffering, and he is moved by it. Even when it seems like nothing is changing in your life, God is at work behind the scenes. Every tear is like a seed planted in fertile soil. They may be painful now, but God will bring forth fruit in his timing. Your pain is not wasted. Your tears are not in vain. They are a testament to the life you are living, the heart you are trusting God with, and the hope that he will bring renewal and restoration in ways you cannot yet imagine. So never doubt for a moment that your tears matter. God sees them. He remembers them. He cherishes them. And one day, all that you have cried over will be transformed into testimony, into strength, and into the evidence of his faithfulness. Every tear tells a story, and God is the author who is carefully writing the ending. Life has a way of testing our faith, our patience, and our endurance. There are moments when the weight of circumstances feels unbearable, when heartbreak, disappointment, or loss seems endless. In those moments, it's easy to feel trapped, as if the pain you are experiencing will last forever. But here's the truth that needs to sink deep into your heart. Pain is temporary. No matter how heavy, how consuming, or how constant it may feel right now, it will not last forever. Seasons of suffering are not permanent, and they are never the final chapter of your story. We often look at life through the lens of our current struggles. When bills are overwhelming, relationships are fractured, or dreams seem out of reach, it's easy to forget that God has a bigger perspective. The psalmist reminds us that weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. That night, the season of suffering is not eternal. The morning is coming. God is faithful to bring change, to turn mourning into dancing, to bring light to places that seem completely dark. Every trial you face is like a chapter in a book, not the entire story. Pain may feel like it dominates your life, but it cannot claim your entire life. It is important to recognize that temporary pain has a purpose. It shapes us, strengthens us, and teaches us lessons that comfort and happiness alone never could. When we endure suffering, we learn resilience, patience, and a dependence on God that is cultivated in no other way. Romans 5:3-4 tells us that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character hope. Notice the sequence. God uses these moments to develop something greater within us. Pain is never wasted, even if it is intense, overwhelming, or seems pointless at the time. Every tear, every trial, every heartbreak is being transformed into growth, preparation, and hope. Sometimes we feel discouraged because we compare our journey to others. We see people around us seemingly succeeding or thriving, and we wonder why our suffering continues. But what we fail to remember is that God's timing is perfect. He has a plan that we cannot always see. The pain you are enduring now is a temporary step towards something better, toward a life shaped by wisdom, humility, and strength that could not have existed without this season. Even when circumstances seem hopeless, God is working behind the scenes to bring about restoration, healing, and fulfillment. Temporary pain also reminds us to lean on God. When life is easy, we often forget that we need him. When everything falls into place perfectly, we might rely solely on our own strength. But pain draws us closer to the one who holds us, comforts us, and sustains us. It calls us to prayer, to trust, and to surrender. In these moments, we discover that God is not just a distant observer, but an active, loving presence who guides us through the storm. He is near to the broken, and he is faithful to bring relief in his timing. Even temporary pain can feel permanent if we focus too much on the intensity of the moment. That is why perspective is so crucial. Instead of dwelling on how long the night seems, fix your eyes on the promise that dawn is coming. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Choose to trust that God is using this season for your good, even if you cannot see the outcome. The trials of today are preparing you for the blessings of tomorrow. They are shaping your character, strengthening your faith, and deepening your relationship with God. Finally, we must remember that temporary pain is always followed by opportunity, healing, and joy. Just as storms in nature eventually give way to clear skies, so too will the storms in your life give way to seasons of renewal. God's faithfulness is unchanging, and his promises never fail. The pain that feels endless today is training you, equipping you, and preparing you for a greater purpose. Hold on, endure, and remember, this season is not forever. Your tears are temporary, your trials are temporary, and your heartache will not last. Renewal is something we all long for. We want our brokenness healed, our pain erased, and our lives restored to joy. But here's the truth that so many miss. Renewal begins internally. It begins in the heart, in the mind, and in the soul, long before it becomes visible on the outside. God's restoration starts from the inside out. You cannot truly experience renewal in your circumstances without first experiencing transformation within yourself. When life hits hard, it's natural to focus on external solutions. We look for new jobs, new relationships, or new situations to make us feel better. We try to fix our problems by changing what is around us. But lasting renewal is not about external changes. First, it is about internal change. Your thoughts, your attitudes, and your spirit are the fertile ground from which restoration grows. If your heart is hardened by bitterness, fear, or anger, no outward success or change can truly satisfy you. Renewal starts when you allow God to heal the hidden places inside you, to realign your heart with his purpose, and to renew your mind with his truth. Scripture reminds us that God does not just work on the surface, he transforms the heart. Ezekiel 3:6-26 says, I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh, a heart hardened by pain, disappointment, or rejection can only be softened and renewed by God himself. Renewal is not merely about fixing what is broken externally. It is about inviting God into the inner chambers of your soul, allowing him to speak life into areas that have been wounded or neglected. When your heart is aligned with his, everything else begins to fall into place. Internal renewal also requires surrender. You cannot control every outcome, and you cannot manufacture true peace by human effort alone. Renewal demands that you let go of the parts of your life that are beyond your control and trust God with the process. It asks for honesty, acknowledging your struggles, your mistakes, and your vulnerabilities before him. And it calls for patience, because internal transformation often takes time. Like water slowly shaping stone, God works in quiet ways to mold your character, to refine your soul, and to cultivate hope in your spirit. Another key aspect of internal renewal is cultivating hope and faith. When your spirit is renewed from the inside, you gain the ability to see possibilities even in the midst of pain. You begin to recognize that God is at work even when you cannot see the full picture. Renewal is not dependent on circumstances. It is rooted in trust, in a deep belief that God is faithful and that he is orchestrating every detail for your good. Romans 12:2 reminds us, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Renewal begins with your mindset, with the conscious choice to see life through the lens of God's promises, rather than through the lens of despair. Internal renewal also strengthens resilience. When your spirit is renewed, external challenges no longer have the same power to crush you. You learn to navigate life with a steady heart, confident that God is your source of strength. Even when storms rage around you, internal renewal provides an anchor that cannot be shaken. It allows you to respond with grace, patience, and wisdom rather than with fear, frustration, or bitterness. You begin to understand that true change does not start with circumstances. It starts with your response to them. Finally, internal renewal leads to outward fruit. When your heart is healed, your relationships improve. When your mind is renewed, your decisions reflect wisdom. When your spirit is restored, your life becomes a reflection of God's power and grace. The process may be invisible at first, like roots growing deep underground, but eventually it manifests in your words, actions, and influence. The renewal that begins internally inevitably touches every part of your life, bringing restoration, joy, and peace that no external situation alone could produce. True renewal is never superficial. It is not just a new opportunity, a new job, or a new season. It is a transformed heart, a renewed mind, and a spirit aligned with God. And it all begins on the inside, where God meets you, heals you, and prepares you to step into the fullness of his promise. Tears, they are often seen as a sign of weakness or defeat, yet in God's economy, they carry profound significance. Every tear you shed is not meaningless, it has purpose. It is easy to feel as though your tears are wasted, as though the pain you endure serves no greater end. But God sees differently. He values each tear. He collects them, he remembers them, and he uses them to shape, refine, and prepare you for what is to come. When we cry, we are not simply expressing grief or frustration. We are releasing what has weighed us down. Tears are a natural expression of the heart, and in them lies an invisible work of healing. They allow us to acknowledge the depth of our pain, to face the reality of our struggles, and to surrender to God's care. Psalm 56:8 says, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book." That image is powerful. God is not distant or indifferent to our suffering. He watches, he remembers, and he assigns purpose to every tear. Nothing you have cried is overlooked or wasted. Tears have a way of cleansing the soul. Just as rain waters the earth and allows plants to grow, tears prepare the heart for spiritual growth and renewal. They soften the places that have been hardened by pain, disappointment, or fear. They open the door for God's comfort, guidance, and restoration to enter. Every tear carries with it the potential for deeper intimacy with God because it signifies vulnerability, honesty, and trust. When you bring your pain before him, when you pour out your soul in prayer, or even in silence, God meets you there. He is close to the brokenhearted, and he transforms our sorrow into understanding, strength, and resilience. Tears also reveal the depth of our love, care, and humanity. When we weep over loss, injustice, or heartbreak, it demonstrates that our hearts are alive, sensitive, and capable of empathy. In a world that often encourages us to hide our emotions, God reminds us that it is okay to cry. Tears are not a mark of weakness, but a mark of authenticity. They reflect a life that is fully engaged with the experiences of joy and sorrow, hope and despair, faith and struggle. And God values that authenticity because it allows him to work more profoundly within our hearts. Every tear carries the potential to transform us. They are like seeds sown in the soil of our lives, preparing the way for growth and blessing. Consider the way hardship often leads to wisdom, character, and deeper faith. The tears we shed in times of trial water these seeds. They remind us of our dependence on God, teach us patience, and reveal the resilience we might not have known we possessed. Without tears, many of the lessons of life would remain hidden, and many of the blessings that follow struggle would never take root. Tears also serve as a testimony. Even when the world cannot see our struggles, God sees them, and he can use them in ways we do not yet understand. Our pain, expressed in tears, can later become a source of encouragement for others, those who have walked through hardship, who have cried and yet continue to trust, often become the very voices of hope for someone else. Every tear you shed, every moment of heartbreak you endure has the potential to bear fruit in the lives of others when God chooses to use your story. Finally, tears remind us that we are not alone. Though pain can feel isolating, God walks with us through every moment of grief and sorrow. He is present in our tears, healing and preparing us for the next step in our journey. And while we may not understand why the pain came or why it lingers, we can trust that God has a purpose behind it. He is using each tear to craft a story of redemption, growth, and hope. One day, every tear will be redeemed, every sorrow will be turned to joy, and every moment of pain will have contributed to the fullness of His plan for our lives. So never underestimate the power or the purpose of your tears. They are not wasted. They are not meaningless. They are a sign of life, a channel for God's healing, and a preparation for the blessings that are yet to come. Even in the darkest moments, your tears have value, and God is using them to shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and more deeply rooted in faith than you ever thought possible. Life has a way of testing our patience. We set goals, we make plans, we work hard, and we pray earnestly, but sometimes nothing seems to happen. Seasons of waiting can feel endless, and it is easy to become discouraged or frustrated. In those moments, it is crucial to remember this truth: trust in God's timing. God's timing is perfect, even when it does not match our own. He is never early or late. He is always at work, orchestrating the details of your life with precision and purpose. Trusting God's timing requires faith. It requires believing that He sees the bigger picture, even when we cannot. We live in a world that values instant results, immediate gratification, and quick fixes. But God's ways are higher than ours. Isaiah 55:8-9 reminds us, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so I am. My ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." What may seem delayed, inconvenient, or even painful to us is never wasted in God's plan. He is always working for your good, often in ways you cannot yet see or understand. Waiting can be difficult, but it is often during these periods that God is doing His greatest work. While we are impatient, He is preparing us for what is coming. He is shaping our character, strengthening our faith, and equipping us with the tools we need to handle the blessings and responsibilities that lie ahead. Romans 8:28 assures us that God works all things together for good for those who love Him. This includes the times of delay, the seasons of waiting, and the moments when life seems stagnant. Even when we cannot trace His hand, we can trust His heart. Trusting God's timing also means surrendering our own expectations. Sometimes we insist on controlling the timeline of our lives, trying to force outcomes before the right moment. But God's timing is not dependent on our schedules. He knows the perfect moment for every blessing, every answer to prayer, and every turning point in our lives. When we try to rush His plan, we often miss the preparation and refinement that He wants to work in us. Learning to wait is not wasted time. It is a vital part of spiritual growth. Patience is not passive. It is active trust, resting in the assurance that God's timing is perfect, even when it feels slow. Waiting also teaches us to recognize God's faithfulness in every season. As we trust Him through the delays, we see evidence of His guidance, provision, and care. Every small victory, every answered prayer, every moment of strength becomes a testimony to His goodness. Trusting God's timing allows us to celebrate His work in our lives, even before the final result is revealed. It turns moments of frustration into opportunities for gratitude and moments of uncertainty into opportunities for faith. Trusting God's timing does not mean that we remain idle. We are called to prepare ourselves, to work diligently, and to cultivate the character and skills needed for what God is about to do. Joseph is a perfect example. He endured years of waiting, injustice, and hardship, yet he did not allow impatience to derail God's plan. When the right moment came, he was ready to step into the purpose God had prepared for him. Like Joseph, we must trust that God's timing is intentional, and He is equipping us for the moment when our faith, patience, and preparation meet opportunity. Faith in God's timing also brings peace. Anxiety often comes from trying to control what we cannot control and worrying about when things will happen. But when we trust that God is sovereign and his timing is perfect, we can rest in the knowledge that he is working on our behalf. Psalm 2:7-14 encourages us to wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. Waiting with trust does not mean passivity. It means walking in faith, hope, and obedience while God orchestrates the right season for everything in our lives. Ultimately, trusting God's timing is an expression of surrender and faith. It is choosing to believe that God is faithful, that he is good, and that he knows.
I'll be all right. You don't have to stay. If you've already chosen, I won't stand in your way. I can feel it in your distance, in the way you barely speak, like your heart is somewhere else now, somewhere I can't reach. I was trying just to hold us while you slowly slipped away. Now I'm left with all the silence you didn't want to say. Maybe I just held on to something already gone. I'll be fine, you can leave. You don't owe me anything. If your heart has found a way out of what we used to be, I'll be fine, don't look back. I'll survive this empty space. Not tonight, maybe not soon, but I'll learn to be okay. We don't need to fake the feeling, I can see it in your eyes. There's no reason left for staying when the love already died. Through the quiet in your voice, I can hear your choice. I'll be fine, you can leave. You don't owe me anything. If your heart has found a way out of what we used to be, I'll be fine, don't look back. I'll survive this empty space. Not tonight, maybe not soon, but I'll learn to be okay. I don't need a reason why, I can see it in goodbye. And it breaks me, yeah, it does, but I won't ask you to stay. I'll be fine, you can leave. You don't owe me anything. If your heart has found a way out of what we used to be, I'll be fine, don't look back. I'll survive this empty space. Not tonight, maybe not soon, but I'll learn to be okay. I'll be all right.